Hi everyone and welcome to our first ever edition of LMC Sports Pulse, where we will be bringing you the biggest news in sports from the past week. I'm Rob McCall and alongside me is Matt Stalnick. Today we'll be looking at Carmelo Anthony's electrifying performance, Super Bowl, and a Pro Bowl that was surprisingly successful as more people watched it than any hockey game last year, which kind of makes me sad, but we'll get to that later. First, let's start with Dolphin Nation, where we're going to recap and get you ready for all things Lemoyne sports. Matt?
Lemoyne's men basketball took down conference champion Southern New Hampshire last Saturday, 78-68, with an impressive game by sophomore forward Connor Mahoney. Mahoney led his team with 18 points in the contest. Lemoyne also shot 54% from the field. This makes it 5 straight wins for the Dolphins, improving their record to 12-7 and 9-4 in the conference.
All right, so they're 9-4 in the conference now.
Yep.
They're on a 5-game win streak.
Mm-hmm.
Are they too hot to stop? The men's Dolphins here, are they too hot to stop?
I think they're doing a great job these past couple of weeks. Obviously 5 straight wins. I think they're doing a great job. Too hot to stop, I don't want to go that far because they are 12-7. They have a lot of momentum, but I think the key thing that they need to focus on is they got a lot of close games lately, and they've been pulling them out. But you know, you got to ask yourself, how many close games can you be in before you finally let one go? What do you think about that?
Right, and the next opponent was number 21 in the nation.
Yeah, Franklin Pierce.
Right, and they just got knocked off playing in a tough match.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to be a real competition for them. With the tight games, I really feel like, yeah, that'll play out big for them. But they seem to be pulling it out. We're going to be talking about another team who's had some close competitions later who have been pulling it out too. So I think that'll be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that, you look at what Nate Champion's been doing lately. Connor Mahoney, obviously, he's really been stepping up from these guys this year. Sophomore player, really stepping up. He's doing a great job. I got a lot of faith in them. I think they can make a run at the NE10s. Let's see how they do over these next couple of games. They can put 6 and 7 together. I think that we have a team that might be too hot to stop at that point.
All right. And moving to the women's side of the ball, the ladies Dolphins scored the last 7 points in their game, but it was not enough as they fell to Southern New Hampshire 53-52. Junior guard Alex Marple led the Dolphins in the loss with 17 points, 13 of which came in the second half. The Lady Dolphins now dropped to 10-8 and 6-6 in the conference. Matt, what are we looking at for the Lady Dolphins?
Here's what I'm looking at here. Let me just take a look at my schedule right now. Opened the season with 3 straight wins.
Right.
Dropped with a loss at New Haven on the 20th of November. Came back with 4 more wins. So they came out of the gate, a lot of momentum. And basically after that, you're looking at 2 losses back in December. Rough January right now, 6 losses. Is this a team that maybe got a little bit too confident early on, especially coming off a bad season last year, and maybe they're just kind of working the kinks out before hopefully making a run at the NE10s later this year? They're still in position. What do you think about that?
I think the key thing that you just said there is they're still in.
Yeah.
If they change the way that they're playing basketball, they shouldn't be down as much so early. They need to stop from these comebacks and be a part of the game the whole way through. They need to be able to put together these games they're putting together in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, if you take a look at one of the things earlier in the season, a lot of blowouts. Robert Wesleyan, first game of the season, 77-52. Damon, 80-68. Mansfield, 83-67. You juxtapose that with what they've been doing recently here. 65-61 against Stonehill. 53-52, that's a loss against Southern New Hampshire. They won against St. Anselm on the 22nd. That's a 55-54 score. So what I'm seeing here is a lot of close games. So they're in it. They're in these games. These are all games they can be winning. They just got to have that gut check late in the game and say, we got to pull this one out. And that's how you get that momentum going toward the NE10s. I think they're still in good shape. Saturday, men's lacrosse took the field in a preseason doubleheader against Hofstra and Syracuse. Lemoyne fell to Hofstra 10-8 and later to Syracuse 15-4. While the day resulted in 2 losses, moments of brilliance shone through. Sophomore Mike Jenkins had a combined 6 points for the day off of 3 goals and 3 assists. Senior Chris Button put up a hat trick in the scrimmage against Hofstra. In the Hofstra game, Lemoyne showed off their depth after pulling their starters in the late 3rd quarter. While falling short, head coach Dan Sheehan kept the mood positive, saying that they are still trying to figure out the pieces to the puzzle and there was a lot to build on. Junior defenseman Kyle Moyer told us that this is exactly what scrimmages are for. He was quoted as saying, "Finding the positives we did and work on them. So it was good to get a lot of guys in the game and see them play well at all positions." It may not have been immediate victories on the scoreboard for the Dolphins, but it was a successful day in the Dome for the Dolphins overall.
Okay, so you're looking at, obviously, I think if you look at our school and the pressure they put on this lacrosse program, I noticed, I talked to a couple people in the hallways and stuff, and it seemed like there's a little bit of disappointment. They expect greatness. After the title, the national championship title last year, this school expects greatness from these teams. Are we going to continue to see that kind of greatness and that level of play from this team this year? You know, what are we looking at according to what was seen at Saturday's game there at the Dome?
You know, I think the one I want to focus on, I think the one, you know, we talked about this back in the green room. We were both focusing on this one. Is the Syracuse game.
Right.
That's going to be a tough opponent, guys. Let's take a look at Syracuse for a second. That's a D1 school.
Yeah.
Perennial powerhouse.
They're always going to this national
They're always
championship.
going to be in it. They're always going to be in it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can really take too much away. You put up 4 goals against Syracuse. So I think you hang your head on that. Hofstra 10-8, again, that's a D1 school. So Lemoyne's holding their own against D1 schools, and I think they're going to be good. You got a lot of great players coming back, a lot of juniors and seniors, like Kyle Moyer, guy like that.
You know,
Chris Button's back.
I'm glad Kyle Moyer said that it's good that everybody's getting out there. I think what happened at this game, and yeah, they're figuring it out. Coach said it too. They're figuring it out. You got to get chemistry on the field.
Yeah.
And coaches have to look for that. So they have to see it. Who's working well together? How are they working well together? Is there going to be conflicts? Like we have too many goal scorers, too many midfielders trying to do too much. So it comes down to looking at the whole team and putting together lines. I mean, it works similar to hockey. You put together lines. People work well together. And Kyle Moyer said it was good. It was good to see them working as a unit, and but also figuring it out. They had to see how everybody worked, and I think everybody who was at the game and saw the team knows that it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my question for you is, we're expecting greatness, obviously. They did lose 7 seniors. 7 seniors graduated are now not playing. Is this going to be a lack of leadership? Are there going to be people? Are there going to be juniors and now seniors stepping up to the table? Is this going to affect the team? I know it's early. Preseason prediction.
My preseason prediction, and building off of what you said about returning players, I'm taking a look here. We got Chris Button, who was one of the leading scorers on the team, coming back last year.
He's a goal scorer.
He's a fantastic
goal scorer.
Fantastic. You got Cam Fetish, a lot of great players coming back. I think they're going to be in good shape. I think the key is, they can't let that championship hangover happen, and I don't think that's going to happen. But you got to build that chemistry. You got to say, okay, what did we do right last year as a team? Forget who's on the team. What did we as a unit do right? And how can we apply that to this kind of group of guys? And another thing is that you got a lot of players from last year's team that were big contributors that are back.
Yeah.
So I think it should be pretty easy for them to recapture that chemistry. They got to stay hungry. They got to stay hungry. And
I don't think it'll be hard for this.
I don't think that's going to be that hard.
This bunch of kids here, I don't think it's going to be hard at all.
You stay hungry. I think they're going to put up a great season. Maybe you're going to get some losses along the way. We'll see how that goes, but maybe 3 or 4 losses, and I think another run at the NA10s and probably a championship is the expectation.
I mean,
I think it's the expectation. I don't think that's. I think
they take that to heart. I think they like that. I think that gives them extra drive. I mean, everybody knows who the lacrosse team is on campus, so
absolutely.
They're going to be hungry.
They're the big show around here.
They are, and I think they're going to put together a heck of a season. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting some games.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll be there.
So, of course.
Yeah, we'll absolutely be there for that one. So stay tuned on that one, folks.
Stay tuned. Moving away from Lemoyne sports, let's take a look at what happened this week with Syracuse Orange men's basketball team.
Yeah, men's basketball. Let's take a look and let's dive right in. The Orange stayed hot last week and grabbed 2 victories in ACC play, one against Boston College on Tuesday and the other against the University of Miami on Saturday. The victories extended the team's undefeated record to 19-0, and if the team can sweep its slate of games this week, this year's team will have the best recorded start in Syracuse Orange basketball history.
I'm excited. They're hot right now.
They're white hot.
Blue hot.
Purple hot.
Okay. Sure. Purple hot. They're purple hot.
They're purple hot right now.
They're hot right now. The thing is, when you look at a season, when do you need to be hot? And it's not now. You need to be hot down the road. Can they stay hot for that stretch? Can they stay this hot for this stretch?
No, they can't. They can't. Do I like the team? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do I like an NCAA tournament run? Yeah. Do I like a Final Four run? Yes. Do I think this team can reach a national championship? Yes, I can. But it's not an important part of the season right now when it comes down to it. They've got a body of work where they could lose the rest of their games, they'd make the tournament right now. Not that anyone wants to see that.
No, definitely don't want that.
No one wants to see that, but the body of work they have right now, they're okay. So I don't think we need to worry about staying hot. They're going to drop a couple games down the road here. Looking at the schedule here, we got 2 matchups against Duke, one on Saturday because they're coming up. We got a strong Clemson team on February the 9th. We got Maryland, Virginia, all strong teams. Last matchup of the year is against Florida State, who always brings a good, strong crew every year. You're going to drop 2 or 3 of those games. It's inevitable. If you're going into the ACC, we're not Big East anymore, ACC tournament, without any losses, you got to have that adversity at some point. Go ahead.
I mean, there's a good thing about having a target on your back, and there's a bad thing about being the only target.
Right.
Which they are right now in the ACC and everywhere. Anybody who gets to take on the Orangemen is going to want to take them down. They're the one team.
That target gets bigger.
Because they're a bigger name, too. They're bigger than the other undefeated teams. So you look at that, they are the target. It's not a target on their back. So I think, and to tell you the truth, I almost, as a fan, I almost want them to lose one game. I want them to lose just one, because they've had some close matches. We'll talk about this in a little bit.
Absolutely.
But, it seems like, and we'll get into this when we get into this more, but it seems like they need to be shown that they're not, immortal.
And you know what? I don't want to play soothsayer here, but if you take a look at some of their last couple of games, you can kind of see those cracks a little bit.
And teams are exposing them, and they're making it look decently easy. And that's one of the questions we got coming up here. People are finding. You look at the Miami game, who they shot well from the perimeter.
Oh my goodness,
they shot so well from the perimeter. BC, who attacked and swung it. They both teams. I think what I noticed, and if we had highlights, I'd love to go through that. They took advantage of the double team.
Yep.
Syracuse goes for these traps. They're long, they're fast. They get to you. They get on top of you fast, and you think you don't know where to go. Coaches are realizing this. It's a trademark of their defense. They are going. If more teams can expose this, the zone, as we think it is, is going to have to be changed a little. Less double teams, and then there's more exposure, because double teams are where they get the traps, where they get the turnovers, the steals. So, is this the chink in the armor? I think, Boeheim's going to be there looking at this, saying, okay, maybe we're double teaming too much.
Yeah.
Maybe we're doing this too much. 3-pointers historically have been how teams beat the 2-3 zone. I mean, if you can't shoot threes, if you cannot shoot threes, you really don't have a chance.
As an observer of this team, I'm worried about the 3. The 2-3 zone is designed to shut everyone down on the inside and push everything outside and collapse.
Exactly.
And look, you're going to get teams that shoot the lights out. That's the chink in the armor. We saw it against Villanova earlier this year. We saw it against Miami.
With Miami more than Villanova.
Miami more so than Villanova. And you take a look at what Miami was doing. If they get hot at the right time in the game, and Syracuse is maybe their lackadaisical at some point, you get a team like Duke, who's going to be around that whole game, by the way.
Of course they are.
They're going to be around that whole game.
Of course they are.
You let them stay in the game, and they get hot late, that 2-3 zone is not designed to protect against streaky shooting. So that's where Syracuse needs to be shoring things up. And
something I want that you just pointed out, becoming lackadaisical. Being lackadaisical is something that has hurt them before. You think of that Michigan game last year.
Oh my goodness. We talked about this, yeah.
Of course we have. I mean, we talked about it right after the game happened. I mean, they didn't look like they wanted to play. They thought the game was going to be handed to them. And once you get into that mindset, that's why I think they act that way now. Once you get into that mindset, you become outside of yourself. You start trying to play outside of yourself.
Yeah.
I think they need to stay on track and stay who they are. And speaking of staying who they are, let's talk about C.J. Fair. His continued leadership and brilliance on the floor, it's amazing. Miami was his 18th double-figure game in 19 games this season.
Let me tell you something about C.J. Fair.
Yes, please.
And I'm a little pissed about this. And I'm sorry if the censors don't like that word. I don't think it's that bad of a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. Have you seen any mock drafts lately?
No.
Let's talk about C.J. Fair for a second. Physical specimen. That kid is an athletic specimen. He's got a great body, great NBA body. And not to get too off topic here, but to your point, with how well that kid has been playing, he has not been showing up on mock drafts. He's early second rounder right now, where Tyler Enos and C.J. Ennis. What am I thinking?
It's okay.
I know, right? Tyler Ennis and Jeremy Grant are both flying up the boards, and C.J. Fair's not going anywhere, and that kind of speaks to his game for me. He's a quiet producer, and you know what? That's going to help us. And if he just keeps quiet production, and he just keeps doing his thing, he's going to be that leader that we need.
He's the rock that the team pivots around. I mean, he's that centerpiece.
Rocks pivot sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, well, they hold pivots.
Yeah, they do that. They do that thing. Yeah.
Pivot around them. I think CJ, watching his game develop over the years is great. You know, he started as just a mid-range guy.
Yeah.
And now you see him creating more in the lane, and he's proven that he can take threes. And I think having a guy on the floor like that who can create for himself and for others is great for the team. It shows guys like Ennis and Grant how to play.
Yeah.
And you need that guy.
Yeah, and speaking of Ennis, and I'm sorry, Tyler, if you're watching the show, I didn't mean to call you Enos.
Tyler, please watch the show.
Yeah, please watch the show. We need viewers.
It's a good show.
That's a great show. You could see this. Look at this chemistry.
It's
anyway,
a good show.
Ennis, what a star this year that he's developed into. You can't overlook what that kid has given this team. You take a look at all of our recent point guards, and they've been great. We've had some great ones. Michael Carter-Williams, Johnny Flynn. Even going back to like your Sherman Douglases, he's a Sherman Douglas kind of player. That kid he's pass first. He's smooth. He is the smoothest point guard I think we've had.
He has the court vision on the kid. You remember QB vision?
Yeah, vision code, Madden 06. Yeah.
Brett Favre had the whole field. That's Tyler Ennis. He sees everything that's going on, the minute little details of the defense. He understands how to read that. It's beautiful to watch.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful to watch.
It's beautiful with a capital freaking B. And Tyler Ennis is going to be – C.J. Fair might be our leader, but I think Tyler Ennis is going to have a Carmelo Anthony-esque breakout towards the end of the season going into the tournament. I think he's going to engineer us going forward.
I agree. But in other Orange news,
I
think we have to talk about Dajuan Coleman.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The week started out great. Q's fans, it started out amazing. You know, we're playing well. It's playing hot. News came in that Dajuan Coleman is now out for the season. With knee. So let's dive right into that too. Yeah.
So Dajuan Coleman. Basically, what the deal is here. He past couple of years, we've all kind of noticed he's a little sluggish on the court. Hasn't really produced as to what the prognosticators were saying entering his freshman season. Number 2 center according to Rivals.com going into his freshman season. And what the story kind of unfolded, we find that Coleman has knee problems, battling these knee problems for a very long time. And it kind of came to a crescendo over this past week, and he's going to be having arthroscopic knee surgery. He actually just underwent the surgery, which was successful according to team doctors. And he's going to be out for the season, but I think the question that I want to ask you, and I think the big question a lot of Syracuse observers need to be asking themselves is, do you think this knee surgery is going to facilitate better play going forward, assuming it was successful?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Here's why. He is out on the floor right now. He's a bit out of shape. He doesn't look comfortable in the 2-3 zone yet. He needs to watch other big men. He needs to learn. He needs to get into shape. And a lot of people, which I hope he does, a lot of people when they get injured, they work harder.
Scoop Jardine a couple years ago.
Adrian Peterson. I mean,
oh my God.
You have an injury, you work harder. And he needs to become that guy. Syracuse has not had a good big man in a long time. We won a national championship without a great big man. Sorry, Craig Forth, you're not a great big man.
Great school teacher.
You're a great school teacher.
Not a good big man.
But you're not a good big man. You had stone hands. We haven't had a good center. Syracuse University basketball has not had a good center in a very long time.
You know, the last time we've had a good big center, another man named Coleman, Derek Coleman.
There you go. So, okay, learn from him.
Yeah.
Take advice, Here's the thing. Christmas and Keita, while very inconsistent in their play,
very inconsistent,
have stepped up to the challenge. They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, if Syracuse had a big man, wow, unstoppable. But they've stepped up to the play. Yeah. They've stepped up. So, will his absence affect the team? You tell me.
It's not going to affect the team right now. I think this is kind of a move, and this is kind of a story that the 2015 team really needs to be worried more about. I think, to your point about Keita and Christmas, what they've been doing, I don't think we really need a Coleman right now. Would it be nice? Yeah. You can always say that it'd be nice to have that big physical presence down low, but Keita and Christmas are collapsing, and they're doing a good job down there. So I don't think this is really anything that's going to affect us in a Fab Melo kind of way. Oof. When Fab Melo went down a couple years ago, that crushed us.
That was rough.
That was rough. And I think this Coleman injury is just more about, okay, what do we got here? Let's make sure we get this knee healed, and let's make sure we can get you producing when we do need you in the future. So.
So it's going to be good for his development then?
Yeah, I think absolutely. This is what we need.
Okay. Good deal.
Now, speaking of Syracuse athletes in the news, a certain former Syracuse athlete made quite a splash nationally this past week. One-time SU phenom Carmelo Anthony exploded for 62 points in a matchup against the Bobcats last Friday night in Madison Square Garden, setting numerous records en route to leading his team to a 125-96 victory over the Bobcats. Anthony set franchise, arena, and personal scoring records courtesy of the 62-point performance, which currently stands as the best scoring performance by any player in the NBA this season. Oddly enough, Anthony's magical night came amidst a rough season for the Knicks, one so rough that Anthony is considering leaving the Knicks at the season's end for greener pastures when his current contract expires. Will Anthony's recent surge in performance reignite his desire to stay in New York? What do you think, Rob?
No, there's no way. He's unhappy, and I can't blame him. They've tried to do so much with him in New York, and it's not working out.
No.
One game where he succeeded seems like another reason to leave. Like, I didn't need this. I just needed me. And you need, I think we've talked about this when we talked about the lacrosse with Lemoyne. You need a team aspect to win games. Like, you can't just toss good names out there and expect them to merge well together. And Carmelo Anthony.
That's his sister.
Just blur it. Carmelini is the sister of Carmelo Anthony. Yes.
They call her Mel.
Mel. He doesn't need to be there.
No.
I think he needs out. I think it'll be good for his career. So, rumors are saying
Bulls right now.
Bulls.
This is the big one. Yeah.
Bulls, but Lakers are still on the table. I mean, it's not like we've
and the Knicks are still on the table too. Let's not forget that.
Well, of course. I definitely think Chicago is Chicago's better.
Yeah,
but
Chicago's
is that where you see him?
I'm a little bit torn on this. I think logically speaking, the Chicago Bulls are the organization for him right now. You know, let's just hypothetically assume that Derrick Rose is going to get healthy at some point. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's just say that he gets healthy. That's a great team for him. You know, the big problem the whole time with the Knicks was you're trying to throw all these people together that don't complement one another. Amari Stoudemire comes to mind. That guy's on the downside of his career anyway. You know, God bless the guy. God bless the guy. He's had his own injury problems and stuff, but you can't put Carmelo and Amari on the same court and expect them to complement one another. You just can't. Then you're trying to throw Tyson Chandler in there, and on nights when it's all working, it's going to work great, but on most nights it's just not. And you need that Derrick Rose type figure to be able to feed Carmelo and then allow Carmelo to open up Derrick Rose.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's why the Bulls are probably the strongest prospect. But another thing you can't forget about is, you know, Carmelo's family is in New York right now. You know, he came there with that New York state of mind. He still has family here in New York. I don't know if leaving is going to be all this easy. You know, once he separates himself a little bit from the hustle and bustle of the season, and he really takes a look back and says, okay, maybe this Knicks team is what I want. But you know what they need to do? If Carmelo is going to stay, the organization is going to have to show him prove to him in some way that they're going to put the pieces together going forward.
Right now, they're J.R. Smith and Tyson Chandler. They're puzzle pieces to a different puzzle set. I mean, they're not a team. So the Knicks, to me, are going to have to, if they want to keep him, I don't think it's going to happen in my predictions. If they want to keep him, they got to show that we're going to build a program around you. And that's kind of what he wants. What I would like about Chicago, they're a 500 team right now.
Yeah.
22-22. Yeah, not great.
They're not. No.
D-Rose still questionable.
Right.
You add a Carmelo Anthony to that lineup without D-Rose.
Right.
That team automatically gets better.
Mm-hmm.
D-Rose is facilitating Carmelo Anthony. Mm-hmm. Carmelo Anthony's opening up the floor. Now, Carmelo's not a huge passer. We know that. But if you have someone who can create for, I mean, if you're playing the Knicks, your team playing the Knicks, who are you trying to shut down? Carmelo
You're trying
Anthony.
to shut down one guy.
You're trying to shut down one guy. Now you got a team because Derrick Rose knows how to get it to his team. Mm-hmm. Carmelo's going to be a huge factor in that team.
Yes.
But you got a facilitator who knows how to work the floor. He's got the three elements. He can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot, he can do it all. Adding someone like that is only going to do that organization good, and it'll add some competition back to the East. Like right now, all the competition's out West, and then it's the Heat in the East, and that's not fun to watch.
Yeah, you know, you talk about how bad the Knicks have been this year. Taking a look at my stat sheet right now, they're 18-27. That's 9 games under 500. They're third in the Atlantic, 10th in the Eastern Conference, and they're only a half game out of the playoffs. So the depth in the East is pretty questionable right now. But that's a story for another day.
All right. Well, let's move out of basketball and into baseball news. While it is the off season, the MLB has expanded their use of replays and is set for the 2014 season. 30 ballparks will be home to a new designated communication center located near home plate. On-field umpires will be connected to umpires at the Replay Command Center at the MLB Advanced Media Center in New York. Those at the command center will be determining whether the play in question can be overturned. However, the umpires on the field will not be looking at a monitor. All of the decisions will be made from the command center. As for how challenges work, managers get one challenge. If the play is overturned, they are able to keep their challenge. So they can have up to 2 challenges per game. After the 7th inning, the crew chief is allowed to call for replay on a qualifying play and is not required to do so on a manager's request. So you get a replay, you use it, you don't use it, doesn't matter. 7th inning comes around, crew chief's call. If you have one after the 7th inning, though, feel free to use it. But after that, crew chief's call.
What we're looking at basically here is a modified version for, NFL fans are going to be kind of familiar with this. It's kind of similar to the dichotomy between coach's challenge and the booth review. So, you get up until that point, you can get X amount of challenges, and then, booth takes over. Is it going to change the game? Yeah, probably. I think this is going to be, I think this needed to happen. I think this is something that's been a long time coming. And I think the biggest thing that I'm drawing out of this story is baseball, and we're going to talk about this later when we have that Harris Pulse story that we're going to get to. Baseball knows that they got to kind of up their game in terms of technology.
Definitely.
I think they've fallen behind. I mean, we're just getting more wild cards, and we're finally getting instant replay. It's about time.
Yeah.
That's why.
Welcome to the 21st century.
Exactly.
The technology's been around. The fact they've waited to use it frustrated a lot of fans. I mean, think about Armando Galarraga. I really liked, how cool.
Galarraga.
Galarraga.
Okay.
Detroit Tigers pitcher, perfect game because of one stupid call at first base. That play will now definitely be challenged by a home plate umpire.
Absolutely, yeah, it's not even a question.
So you've changed the game, and it's definitely going to change the game in a good light. This is home runs. This is double plays rules. This is outs. This is strikes and balls. This is material that matters to the game and decisions that have affected the game in a negative light. Yes, umpires, they're human. They make mistakes. So, that's great. It's going to be choppy at first, and the transitions are going to be rough into figuring out how they're going to use it. Managers are going to have to kind of now figure out new strategies for games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is good, but the first season's going to be choppy.
They always are when you bring these kind of big changes in. So that's a big one. Now, moving away from baseball a little bit, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that a certain football game is happening this Sunday. That game, of course, is the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks will be facing off against the Denver Broncos in a game that will see the top-ranked NFL defense try to contain the top-ranked NFL offense. This is obviously our top story of the week, so I have to ask Rob, who do you got in the game and why?
I have to go with the Broncos.
Okay.
I don't have to. I'm going.
You don't have to.
I'm going with the Broncos. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Broncos.
You're going with the Broncos.
I think Peyton Manning, he's ready for this. They feel like an underdog. They have a chip on their shoulder. I mean, he said it before with the Patriots. They have a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they're angry. They want this. They want this bad. And I'm not saying the Seahawks don't. You're at the Super Bowl. You want it. I think they got this extra drive. I think it's Peyton Manning's year. I think it's gonna be their game. It's gonna be tight. Peyton Manning's gonna pull it out in the end.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you here.
Please do.
Peyton Manning, he's had a rough history in the NFL playoffs.
Yep, in the playoffs.
I go back to that game last year, wild card round. The Broncos blow it there. I can think of 2 Super Bowls that Peyton Manning has been to in which he's had a pretty less than stellar performance. Coming off of seasons, I might remind you, which were career best at that time. So I'm not saying I don't have faith in Peyton Manning. It's not that. You take a look at what the Seahawks have been doing on defense this year. That I don't know if the Broncos have seen anything like that. And defense wins championships. In the past, when you pitted a top defense against a top offense, that defense wins. And I just think that the Seahawks have so much firepower on defense. They got swagger, and they're hungry. they're just, you say the Broncos are hungry, the Seahawks are hungry. They had a tough loss in the playoffs last year. You got Russell Wilson on offense, which is a very underrated offense, by the way. Their passing game has been suspect. I think if they would have a better receiver.
He has
but Russell Wilson can make plays.
Okay.
He can make plays with his legs. He can make plays with his arms. I see the Seahawks taking this one in a close game. I see it as a low-scoring affair. And I think the Seahawks, if they can set the tone on defense early and kind of take Peyton Manning out a little bit, I think the Seahawks can take this 17-14.
I'm going Omaha. Sorry, going Omaha. The Pro Bowl happened last week. I forgot that happened. And more people watched the game than any other hockey game that happened last year. This year's format was a fantasy draft between captains Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders. Jerry Rice's team ultimately won, and while people watched the game, no one seems to really care. We hear on sports writers and certain players mocking the game so that it's going on. Matt, what's going on with the Pro Bowl?
It's bad.
It's bad?
It's bad, Rob.
It's really bad.
It's not good. It needs to go. You got so many problems with this. You got 2 players that were injured in this game. Jairus Byrd from the Bills. LaShawn McCoy got injured. He's been an injury problem for God knows how long. It needs to go. Football is not like other sports. You can't just put 22 guys on the field and expect them not to get hurt in a game that doesn't matter. Football is such a physical game that adding an extra game that's meaningless, that the product hasn't been good. All these players try to showboat. And up until this year, they were usually like these weird high-scoring affairs where there was no defense. It needs to go. It needs to go. I think most NFL fans are going to sit there and tell you it needs to go. It's not entertaining. Now they're trying to throw these gimmicks with Jerry Rice and
it's become less about football and more about products. And the thing that I loved is players said that they wanted to go to the Pro Bowl. It was going to be cut. They wanted to go to the Pro Bowl because they wanted a trip to Hawaii on the NFL.
Yeah.
They definitely can't afford a trip to Hawaii. That being said, Pro Bowl needs to go. Let's move to the You Oughta Know segment. Matt, take us away.
Yeah, I can take over on this one. Ever since 1985, the Harris Poll has been surveying adults all around the nation about their favorite sports. Each year, the folks who run this poll release the results of this survey to the public. This year, unsurprisingly, the NFL took the #1 spot with a whopping 35% of respondents listing their world's favorite game as the gridiron. The other results of this list, however, were a bit surprising, and this is where I kind of want to jump in with you here. Couple interesting stories coming out of this one. This poll showed that the MLB, which we talked about earlier, and this ties into the replay debate, experienced a significant drop in popularity. MLB was the most popular sport in 1985 when this poll was first introduced, and it has dropped 10% in terms of respondents since then. 10%, that's big. So you have to ask yourself, maybe what's the MLB doing wrong? Another cool observation I got out of this, auto racing, which in America is NASCAR, ranked as the 4th most popular sport in the United States, behind the NFL, obviously, the MLB and college football. NASCAR took 7% of the vote, and it beat out what's traditionally considered to be more popular, the NBA, the NHL, and college basketball, which took 6%, 6%, and 5% of the vote, respectively. So for a sport that many have been said is on the decline, NASCAR, it's interesting to see that they are holding steady there and are actually more popular than the NBA and the NHL, which, according to SportsCenter coverage, you wouldn't think that.
Never know, right?
So another big one, golf, really has fallen off. Obviously, you're a big golf guy here.
They need to get it to younger viewers. I grew up in a golf family. It's different. Yeah. They need to get it to younger viewers. The Ricky Fowler stuff, that helped. But it helped kids get into the sport, not really watch the sport. So
yeah,
that's my view on the golf. So
yeah, so basically my take on this, NFL is exploding. That number is going to keep going up. MLB, that's going to keep going down, I think. I don't really know what to make of NASCAR. I mean, I obviously, this, right. I have a lot. I'm pretty invested in that sport. There's things that you say to yourself, yeah, that could rise. I think the big one that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention in this, and a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing about this story is college football. When you get that playoff in place next year, that's gonna keep shooting up. Right. There's just such a grassroots following for that. So, interesting story. You got to know it. Every week we're gonna have an interesting story for you. So, should be fun. Huh?
All right. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Our first ever Sports Pulse. Thanks for tuning in. If we don't get canceled, we'll probably be here next week. So tune us in. I'm Rob McCall.
I'm Matt Stolnick.
We had a great time. Have a good night.
Take it easy, guys.